I found, and then we'll talk about the overall budget. So when we were updating the budget, the omnibus meeting,
What's
I was
this?
finding that the increase from year over year, according to the cover sheet on Charahoe, was 383,000, which was doable, I should say. You know, if they had worked down from there, I think it would have been palatable. Then come to find out, when I plugged it into my budget, I found that we had a much bigger increase. So I started panicking, and I'm like, did I do something wrong? So I started doing my due diligence, pulling things apart. I had her doing some research on her end. Come to find out, I traced the error down, and it was definitely on their end. If you call it an error, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for them, but what happened was if you look at the cover sheet from the omnibus meeting or from the Charahoe budget, the summary page, the FY26 budget number, they have it at the bottom. And I could show it to you. It says 23,333,000. However, that was not what our number was for last year. We were at 22.9. So it was about 350,000 higher than what the voters approved. So I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, what is this? You know, what is this number? I started panicking, thinking like, we're going to have some deficit this year in our budget. Because long story short, the number reflects their adjusted budget. So I called Greg immediately and was like, well, what is this number? What does it reflect? You know, and his explanation was that it was an adjusted budget, which I explained to him. The voters approved a budget. That's the budget. You can't redistribute revenue based on some adjusted budget on the expense side. Okay. I guess under the Charahoe Act, we all know they have the ability to move things around, and they can adjust their budget. However, that doesn't mean revenue is what it is, right? It's what was distributed, what voters approved. And so I had Marita pull what the voters approved, everything checked out on our end. I was like, okay, that's the number that's in our budget. So it actually reflects now a $725,000 increase, and that's after state aid. So prior to state aid, education is up 1,748,000.
So what percentage would that be? 3.8, 3.9?
It's a 7.6% increase.
See, that's what we saw originally,
right.
And then it changed when we got to the omnibus.
Right. So I guess my biggest gripe is, you know, when these numbers are being shown at the omnibus meeting, and the percent increases and dollar increases are reflective of an increase based on this like fabricated number. That's not what is in our budget, and it's not what's in, and that's really what it should be, because that's what we're going to have to go to our taxpayers and
that's
say,
right.
This is the increase, right?
That's right.
So that being said, I think we need to bring it to the school committee's meeting, as Councilor Geary suggested. I think I'm going to notify the other towns so that everyone's well aware. You know, Richmond's in the same boat, so they're showing.
Oh, it's even more for them.
It's another 350,000 for them too.
Oh my God!
So I think they're at like they're showing like a 900,000 increase on the summary sheet, but it's actually 1.2 for them, and that's after state aid. So I think there's a little bit of confusion going on. You know, I don't want to make assumptions as to how or why, but it's just something that everyone needs to be made aware of. And I think that it needs to get brought up to the school committee and our voters.
Yeah, because according to the agenda for tomorrow, they're supposed to vote on, you know, have their little vote kind of thing. Or that's going to be the budget. That's that wording for the school committee.
Bond language.
No, beyond. No, this is in the regular part of the agenda. Beyond the bond, they're supposed to kind of talk about voting on the budget. Did you see that?
Yes.
So before, if we only had like a 2%, whatever increase, I wasn't gonna fight.
No, because
But
when we all
And
walked
we
out
would
of
say,
there.
hey, baby, be quiet.
Felt pretty confident, because usually there'll be some adjustments, especially when Richmond being in a position, they were gonna push for some adjustments
Yeah.
downward. And usually there's some, I don't want to say fat, but there's some areas where they can chisel it down a little bit. So I'm like, okay, they can get it down to 300 from our 383, which is what we were showing. And to be clear, I've done the same thing for 12 years now. When I go to that meeting, I immediately take their cover sheet and do the quick math and say, this is our increase, and I did it this year. And again, I don't have to tell the story again, but it was not indicative of our actual increase. So with that being said, Charahoe is up 1,748,000. The rest of our budget, department-wise, was up, let's see, 392.
Brian, what page are we on? So we all can
Just
go.
the summary sheet. I'm just going over page 2
Okay.
and 3,
Well, it doesn't,
just to give you like a high-level overview, and then we'll dive into the individual. We'll go through each department.
so on page 2,
Yep.
education line,
Yep.
26, 27, is it 24,740, 488?
Yes. So where the
Okay.
confusion was if you go over to FY 25-26
Okay.
budget expense, that 22,992,000.
Yeah.
That number was not what was shown to us. It was
Correct.
actually 23,333,000. So it was 350,000 more. So it reflected a smaller increase than we're actually going to get.
So now we're talking about 1,747,961.
So, I don't know if it's, on the good news on the state aid side, on revenue side, is we're up on state aid by $1 million. So that's where it cuts that 1.7 down to 745,000.
That's
725,000.
But that's still a lot compared to what we were all told in the omnibus.
100%. Yes.
You're going to be there tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would duly encourage you, like we talked about, to get this out to, of course, Mrs. Zenyan, Gina Picard, and our school members in the other towns. So this way, everybody's going into it with the same correct numbers, not going into it half-assed like this sounds like it's been prepared. So if there's something there that, I'm not going to pass a buck, but if something's there and somebody's like, flip of the switch and didn't pay attention to it, it didn't sound right when we walked out of there on the ombudsman night. How is we go from being the lowest with the most, Richmond gets pounded, and Charlestown, I said something didn't sound right. So now you know.
Yeah.
Good.
So again, the department increases will go through line by line.
Yep.